We'll come back to him shortly. So Gareth, could you confirm that the stream has started, please?
Yeah, it started.
Thank you. Over to yourself, Chair. I'm afraid you're not on screen, Chair.
Yeah, sorry about that. Something happened and it lost connection for a second. I'm back now. Apologies. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so are we recording now, Amy?
We are indeed, Chair.
All right, then I shall get started. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Scrutiny Committee Live Well, the meeting Tuesday, 8th of July, 2025 at 6 p.m. May I remind everyone present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording archived for future viewing. Could all participants please mute themselves when not speaking in order to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking? If a participant wishes to speak, can they use the remote raise hand function? If a participant raises their hand via the remote function and is not subsequently invited to speak by the chair, please could they turn their camera on to indicate or place a message in the chat function. When invited to address by the chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. If this is not possible for any reason, please bring this to the attention of the chair and/or Democratic Services Officer as soon as possible. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. The chat function may be used to highlight any technical issues and/or to grab the attention of the chair or Democratic Services Officer. If any participant has difficulty hearing or being heard when they are addressing the committee, then they should let the chair or Democratic Officer know. So please could I welcome all committee and non-committee elected members, cabinet members, our officers, and anyone watching the live meeting broadcast. I will continue on to the agenda. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any?
Just one to myself, Chair, which I believe Councillor Hennessy may be making also, which is for Councillor Cave.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And if I may, Chair, if I could just take the opportunity, because I'm afraid I didn't get a chance to touch base with you before we started, just to welcome Ocean Carroll, who was our co-opted member, who was very kindly joined us this evening for the first time.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Welcome, Ocean. I hope you don't find this too much of what's the phrase? Too much being thrown at you at once, and I hope you enjoy this committee and soon feel comfortable being a part of it. Okay, so the second item is minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of May 2025. Are committee happy to accept the minutes, and can I have a proposer and seconder? Councillor Hennessy.
I'll propose.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hanks, you were next up.
Happy to second. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Item 3 is receiving declarations of interest. Do we have any? Councillor Lloyd-Selby?
Thank you, Chair. I need to declare a personal interest in relation to agenda item 4, the annual review of Commission services. I have a number of adults in receipt of social care support. I have dispensation from the Standards Committee to speak and vote on the issue, so I'll remain in the meeting. I also need to declare an interest in relation to agenda item 5, work to tackle poverty and the current cost of living crisis. I'm the founder and trustee of the Vale Food Bank. I have dispensation to speak and vote on general matters relating to this issue. And again, it's a personal issue. I will stay in the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other declarations of interest? No, we do not. Okay, so I will go on to agenda item 4, which is the apologies, the annual review of commission services to adults with a care and support need. Now, last meeting, I wanted to ease us all into this new committee. So I went with the old format where I would give officers a chance to explain things before I opened it up for questions. But for the sake of efficiency, I'm going to assume that you have all read the papers already. So I will be skipping that step today. Eve Williams is available if you wish to ask any questions. So can we just go straight to comments and questions, please? Thank you. Do we have any? Councillor Lois Selby.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got a number of questions, if I may.
Yes.
So I note the report talks about a progress that's being a review that's being undertaken in relation to internal provision, residential care homes for older people in the Vale, and it would be very helpful to understand the timescales for that review, and in particular how service users and families are being engaged in it. I also note that of the 43 care homes in the Vale, a number charge or make a high cost weekly fee. And again, you may not have this information available this evening, but it would be helpful to understand the main reason for some care homes charging that higher cost, and also what percentage of homes in the Vale accept the council's standard contract rate. And the reason I'm asking those questions is because I'm seeking assurance about residents' access and choice. So it would be very helpful to understand those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Eve, would you like to come back on those before we go to the next councillor? Oh, it's Ian, is it? Sorry, it's got...
No, it's fine. If you may, Chair, I'll respond to the first question, then bring Eve in for the second two.
Of course.
So in relation to the project work that we're undertaking, so this is it's very much in the project initiation stage. So we've literally completed that documentation, and we've got our first workshop. I think it's on the 31st of July, which is going to take place with colleagues from the Health Board, some internal colleagues, but also some representatives from the provider sector. We'll very much want to engage with key stakeholders. One of the work streams will be to look at our 4 internal care homes and the provision and the changing needs of the population. There's a wider aspiration of the project. That's actually to look at the accommodation needs for adults with care home provision across the Vale. So we'll be including colleagues within the private sector as well as in respect of our 4 internal care homes. We very much want to see engagement and participation as a key strand of that. We haven't agreed the work streams at this point in time, just because we haven't had that initial project workshop. In terms of timescales for that, we've talked to other local authorities who've carried out this type of project work. If we were to look at the potential of a new care home provision within the Vale, we know that could actually take a significant number of years. So we're really going to be focused on year 1 of undertaking a options appraisal of the market. So we'd aim to be there within 1 financial year. Then after that, we'll be able to set out some key milestones for the project.
Thank you, Ian. Eve, would you like to come in for the second question?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check that you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Thank you very much. So in relation to the reason for some of the high cost, some of the providers that we have in the Vale of Glamorgan, in particular one of the new residential care homes that's entered the market, has marketed themselves as a luxury care home. So they have built a new care home within Wenvo, and they have available on site kind of hairdresser, salon, gym, and kind of some of those luxury elements that they have marketed themselves at. And we have spoken to them, and they have confirmed that they've marketed themselves at the self-funder area of the market where people would have those available resources to purchase at that level. Some of our other care home providers charge slightly higher more, partly because they offer a specialist service. So for some of our residents who have a complex range of needs, potentially high level nursing and social care needs, and therefore the support that's provided on site. But in relation to your question around the percentage, we have 4 internal care homes that operate at our standard contract rates, and 3 external care homes that operate at our standard contract rates. Those are just within our older people's services. So those won't include our learning disability provisions, supported living. So some of those more specialist services that are delivered in a kind of 3 to 4 person bed home, as opposed to a large 100-bed care home for older people. So of those provisions, there will be a mix of smaller homes as well as large care homes such as Springbank or College Fields, where a high number of residents live. So 43 care homes includes people with mental health, people with learning disability, older people, and people with dementia as well within that.
Thank you. Can I just quickly come back in, Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Really interesting and helpful information from both officers, so thank you very much. In relation to the review that's happening, Chair, can I request that we receive information about the outcome of that review when that's appropriate?
You can. We can put that forward as a recommendation afterwards. Yes. Councillor Hanks.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wanting to ask quickly, one of the challenges to recruit care staff seems to be the registration requirements with Social Care Wales. I just wondered if you could explain what those challenges are, please.
Okay. Ian, are you answering that one again?
Yes, it's still is. It's an area. So I don't know whether all members would be aware, but there previously wasn't a requirement for what we'd refer to as unregistered workers previously to register with Social Care Wales. So it does mean there's extra training requirements, extra expectations, and another process for them to go through. We've certainly helped to alleviate some of those challenges within the Vale of Glamorgan. So we've got a training programme in place for those who wish to come into care and support them in relation to that. And we support both external and internal providers in relation to training those staff to make sure those staff are able to be registered. However, it is an extra barrier for staff when I suppose those staff could earn similar levels of pay to go into areas like hospitality or retail, where they haven't got those additional requirements of registration. So it's a barrier we support staff with. However, it's a very difficult area to recruit to, the care sector. So we would say it's an additional challenge for us.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you. Councillor Lovelock-Edwards. Councillor, we can't see you and we can't hear you.
Chair, just to let you know, my colleague Gareth has been liaising with Councillor Lovelock-Edwards. She was planning to join on her mobile device. I'm not sure if that's the case now, but would you mind if we went to Councillor Wilson and we'll reach out with Councillor Lovelock-Edwards again?
To be honest, I was going to suggest that. I don't want Councillor Lovelock-Edwards to miss out on her opportunity to ask any questions. Yeah. But we do need to keep the meeting going. So we'll come back to Councillor Lovelock-Edwards once we've spoken to Councillor Julie Lynch-Wilson. Thank you. Councillor Lynch-Wilson?
Hi. just when you're talking about recruitment and having to be with Care Wales, I have myself registered, and I've just re-registered because I've been registered for 3 years, so I've just had to re-register, and there is quite a lot of it involved. You have to do quite a lot of training. My QCF took a year to get my level 2, so that is quite a barrier to recruitment, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of younger recruits, so definitely one of the barriers. So just to inform people of what actually there is. But then there is the also alternative that now the caring profession will have a registered body and be recognised as such. So it's swings and roundabouts.
Okay, Eve, Ian, does anybody have any comment to make on that, to come back on that with? Ian?
No, only to concur that it's positive in terms of the profession and being registered and that recognition, but it's also can be a challenge as identified in terms of those additional training requirements.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Amy, have we managed to get hold of Councillor Lovelock-Edwards?
Hello, Chair. Hello. Yes, I've just been on the telephone with her. She does have some questions. She's journeying through an alternative device currently. So if you wouldn't mind going to Councillor Morgan, and then I will pose the questions for Councillor while she's reconnecting.
I will do, and even if there is further trouble, even if we have had to go on to the next item, we can always come back to this item for Councillor Lovelock-Edwards' questions if need be. Okay. Councillor Morgan?
Here I am. This is quite a nice positive report in many ways. The one point I wanted to ask about concerns historically people being stuck in hospital waiting for care and placed in care homes. And I see in paragraph 2.8 of your report, you say that the average waiting time for domiciliary care is 3 days. Is that also including people who are waiting to be allocated places in care homes, or what is the average wait time for people in hospital now who are simply in hospital while they wait to be found a care home?
Go ahead, Eve.
Hi, thank you for your question. Yes, it's correct. The waiting time is around average of 3 days. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, especially on a Friday afternoon, where care agencies will want to make sure they have all of the information and prescriptions for people so that they can continue caring for them over the weekend. So that's something that the team are really very proud of and have worked really hard to with the providers that support us in the community. So of those domiciliary care providers, they are really very responsive. Our care home transition pathway is very similar, where we have vacancies and we manage our vacancies on a weekly and then monthly basis to be able to communicate to social workers and the hospital discharge team where those vacancies are, to ensure that people have choice, and then to support that transition out of hospital via the hospital discharge team. The waits can depend on individual need and what kind of support people need, but those care homes are very quick to go into the hospital to start those assessments with families. So if there is a wait, it's part of the assessment process as opposed to waiting indefinitely without any confirmation of activity. And there's definitely capacity within our community provisions to support that quick transition from hospital to home where that's appropriate to do so. Alongside that, we have our own internal VCRS service that support reablement. So there are more options for people who are being discharged from hospital to successfully come home back to the community that they live.
Thank you, Eve. Mike, have you got anything to come back on that with?
No, just to say thank you very much. As I say, it's a lot better than it has been in the past, and I think we're looking after our older residents much better than the past.
Thank you. I can see Jason wants to come in on that, so I'll bring Jason in.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to reiterate something that you've said. We are responding really quickly to requests from hospital to move people out. I'd be cautious of the new monitoring system around the figures because people are now declared clinically optimised, which means they can still be quite unwell as the social workers are working with them to start to plan their discharge. So it's not the same as the old figures that were delayed pathways. So people are probably not truly delayed at some points. And we're asking people to make life-changing decisions within 48 hours, according to Welsh Government, or they get recorded on the list. That's an extremely fast timescale for somebody to choose to move to a residential home. So our figures are exceptionally good, but we do have to give people time to make choices and to adjust to decisions. But we do that at quite an early stage in their recovery. So people are not always well. Sometimes we are working with them while they're still recovering. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very, very pleased with the way the report has gone and how we are trying to help the people a lot better than we have done in the past. I've got a couple of points. 1.6 on there about the means testing. I was contacted recently by an elderly lady that was in tears. Wasn't sure if she'd been scammed because she was trying to get help through the day and she'd been asked about her pensions, account balances and stuff like that. Now, I understand that the staff will be doing it sympathetically, but I don't know how we can check that people understand that they're not being scammed. 1.8, I was going to ask about the amount of younger people presenting with dementia. It's obviously noticeable for it to be in the report, but I wondered if we had figures for people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I didn't understand the high cost placement process, which I didn't know if someone could just explain that for me. And I did love the concept of the e-bikes, which we're putting up for people going on the houses to save them on their travel costs as well as the green effect. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, who would like to take that on? There's quite a few things there. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Eve.
No
I'll make a start. You have the right to ask it.
And they're all great questions as well. I'll make a start, but I know some of my colleagues will come in as well. So in relation to the resident that you've mentioned in relation to financial assessment, our financial assessment team do make contact and they do send out information in the post in advance of those conversations, and they always offer a telephone conversation, but they do offer a home visiting service as well, where they can turn up with their ID badge, physical paperwork, because we know that some people like to see, touch and feel the process they're going through. The financial conversation is never an easy one, and it comes with lots of loaded questions, and people often aren't sure what level of information they present and what that will mean. So that's why we offer home visiting services to go alongside that, to provide that additional reassurance. So please reach out for your resident if that's what they need. In relation to the high cost placement process, I'm going to bring my colleague Jason in to support with that conversation, because this came about as we went through the fee setting conversation each year, and we gather our cost of care activities from our range of providers. We explore what level of fee is within our standard contract rate, and we this last year have uplifted our standard contract rates more generously for those individuals that will work with us at that. So we gave 9.8% to our kind of lowest charging providers in recognition that actually they are working with us at those standard rates. Some of those other providers with a higher cost arrangement, we've asked for additional scrutiny of those decisions. So have we explored choice? Have we explored something that's within that person's community? Can we validate what that additional charge will actually buy us? So due diligence in relation to value for money. And that's not about the quality of placement, it's more about the fairness and equity, because not everybody can afford to top up their payments in that way. So it's trying to create equity there. and I'm going to defer to Jason on the younger people with dementia figures because that will sit within his area. But just it's really nice that you've mentioned the e-bikes because they are they've made a huge impact for a number of our workforce that don't drive. Or where it's too expensive to drive. We know the carer salary is one of the lowest. And actually, the job of a domiciliary care worker is to spend time travelling from one call to another. So we ask them, we pay them less, but we ask them to buy a car and then insure it and then travel. So to be able to provide them with an alternative means of transport that's become sustainable. We've passed those bikes on to those providers who continue to use them, and we see them around in the communities. It's a really nice outcome for us to be able to celebrate. So thank you for picking up on that point. Jason, I'll pass over to yourself.
Yes, go ahead, please, Jason.
Okay, thank you. I'll take the second one first, if I can, Chair. In terms of numbers for younger people with dementia, I haven't got those to hand tonight. I'll have to get those for you. Numbers may not be high, but they are really important for the people who are affected by that condition at an early age. Some of our traditional older persons' homes, they won't have peers around them with similar life experiences and different similar interests. So it's a significant challenge, but I'll have to get the numbers for you if that's okay, and circulate them after the meeting.
Jace, you don't have to give me the numbers. I didn't know if you had them, just to put some context on it for myself. I don't want to give you extra work for doing that. Thank you for your answer. And I was going to say, Eve, thanks. I did know about the home visiting service, and I'll let the lady know. Thank you both, and thank you, Chair.
In terms of high cost placements, just to add to what Eva said, this is about equity. It's also about use of public funds. So, some of the placements are significantly higher than the standard rate. If people can't afford to pay that, then there's a question about whether the state, in this case the council, pays the additional fee. So we've got a process where we explore if there's a reasonable alternative for the person and their family that's easy enough for them to get to and can meet their care needs. Then we would point people in the direction of that more affordable placement in the first instance. Where there's a compelling case on an individual basis that there's no other place can meet those needs, and we've explored all those options, and the request comes to me as head of service to authorise. So it's a bit outside the usual operational management level of decision making, and that business case comes up to me to consider because of the significant pressure on our budgets for those high costs.
Thank you very much, both, and thank you, Chair.
No problem. Councillor Lovelock-Edwards, are you back with us?
Chair, I believe Councillor Lovelock-Edwards is connected to the meeting. She is following proceedings this evening. But if you wouldn't mind, on her behalf, I have some written representations from her and questions to pose for the officers. Would you mind if I did that on her behalf? Just whilst the councillor is trying to sort things out technically.
Of course.
Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Lovelock-Edwards has provided me with a written note where she would like to put on record the recognition of the tremendous work done by Vale of Glamorgan staff to give dignity to older and more vulnerable adults across the Vale, and also notes the continued worries of most of us in terms of the recruitment and retention challenges that we face, and reinforce Vale and Wales as places of sanctuary as well to support migrant workers within this and other key sectors. Also picking up on the comments that we've already relayed this evening in relation to the use of e-bikes. The councillor feels that's an innovative tool that also contributes to the council's Project Zero efforts. And also that the real living wage cannot be underestimated in terms of attracting workers, but also critically retaining staff. So in relation to this particular report before us at the moment, Chair, Councillor Lovelock-Edwards would like to ask 3 questions. The first question is the population needs assessment, which is last published in April 2022. Could officers please advise when the next report is due? The second question is relating to 1.19 paragraph of the report, and whether there are any providers of concerns in the Vale. And the third question is in relation to paragraph 2.11, which is in relation to the review of Your Choice relaunch in September. And will this be shared with us after the fact? So I hope I've posed those questions as they were intended, Chair. But those were the comments and 3 questions from Councillor Lovelock Edwards.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to answer those questions? Eve, Ian? Eve.
I'm
We
afraid you're
can't
on
hear
mute,
you at the
Eve.
moment, Eve.
Apologies. I'll start at the bottom and work my way up, and then if other members would like to join, that would be helpful. So in relation to the review of the Your Choice model of support, this is a programme within our domiciliary care providers that brings more flexibility and offers a bundle of support so that people in receipt of care can choose when they prefer to receive their care, but also flex that time so they can build in other ways that they can achieve their outcomes within their community. We have 22 providers as part of that framework at the moment. So our pause of Your Choice is to work with those 22 providers to understand how outcomes are being delivered. If we were to communicate what Your Choice is to all of those providers, what would be those key messages? So those providers, alongside our social workers, citizens, residents and people in receipt of care and support, are all engaged in the review process and helping us to develop a set of principles that set out what Your Choice means for people who receive support, what Your Choice means for those providers who work in that way, and what Your Choice means for social workers and team managers when they're commissioning support for people in their communities. We will, of course, invite members to join us in that relaunch of Your Choice, where we'll be sharing case studies, positive outcomes, and there will be citizens and providers there to share their experiences as part of that ongoing rollout. So more than happy for you to be invited to be part of that rather than hear about it after the fact, but we'll also provide a report on our findings as well. In relation to the population needs assessment, my understanding is that's done every 5 years, and we're on our second iteration of population needs assessment that is supported by our Cardiff and Vale Regional Partnership Board. So that would bring us to 2027 in relation to the next population needs assessment, but I'm happy to be corrected on that. And apologies, I missed part of the question, the second question, which I've written down providers of concern, but could you repeat that question so that I can answer in full, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Eve. I'm just going based on the councillor's notes, so I'm sorry if I don't have enough context for you, but the councillor was referring specifically to paragraph 1.19 in the report, and her question is worded as, are there any providers of concern in the Vale?
Thank you. Thanks for that repetition. There are a number of providers that come to our attention through our joint quality monitoring arrangement, where we triangulate information across our health services, local authority services, and advocacy services. And that's really a kind of a touch point for us to share concerns and compliments. Sometimes those conversations escalate to a visit or a wider conversation with a provider. Sometimes they are triggered by Care Inspectorate Wales, where they've been out and done an inspection and are notifying us that they have concerns. Of the providers that we have supported over the last year, and I've been in post since September, so we've had one learning disability provider that has gone into escalating concerns, been supported through our process, and then come out of escalating concerns 4 months later, where we've monitored and supported significant improvements in that provision, which has resulted in a change in management and then a re-inspection. There's been one domiciliary care agency that supports children and young people that we've also supported through that process, and we currently have one care home that is within that process that we're supporting at the moment to work through improvements in their area, and that's in partnership with CIW and the Health Board.
Thank you, Eve. Okay, do we have anybody else wanting to question or comment? I see no hands up. So I will go to the recommendations. That the recommendation is that the ongoing challenges and demand for Commission's social care services be noted, the challenging population of the Vale of Glamorgan and the associated increase in demand for care services be noted, the availability of Commission services for Vale of Glamorgan residents and associated increase in expenditure, and the sustained improved timelines of providing home care to residents also be noted. Councillor Lloyd Selby, can you just remind me of the wording of your recommendation again?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's a recommendation for officers, not for Cabinet, that committee receive a report providing us with information about the outcome of the review into care home provision in the Vale at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We also have a recommendation that a further annual review of Commission services for adults with a care and support need report be received by the committee. Is that basically what you were meaning, Councillor Lloyd Selby, or do you want something a little more specific?
There's always value in receiving an update on Commission services, but I'm thinking specifically about the specific piece of work that's currently being project scope around care.
Okay. All right. Amy?
If I may, Chair, Councillor Lovelock Edwards also presented a recommendation to me. The councillor was yes. So I just wanted to make you aware of that before final decision. So the councillor is happy to note the top recommendations as stated within the report, but in terms of the last recommendation, in terms of future iterations of this report, she wanted to make a recommendation that this report be received via the for information reporting mechanism going forward, and that the committee receive related data biannually in the autumn. So,
I'm happy to go with that. I was going to suggest we get it as the update as for information only, so I'm happy to support that recommendation. Are committee happy with the recommendations that we have been given tonight?
And just for the sake of the minutes, if I may, Chair, obviously without me not being an elected member, are you happy to move that on behalf of Councillor Lovelock Edwards and then seek a seconder?
Yes, I sorry, I thought I had said that by saying I would happily support them, but yes, go ahead. Yeah, that is what I meant.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Lloyd Selby.
I'm happy to second the recommendation that Councillor Lovelock Edwards has raised, and also second the recommendations that are before committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have agenda item 5 now, which is the work to tackle poverty and the current cost of living crisis. Again, we're going to just go straight to questions and comments. Do we have any? Councillor Lloyd Selby. Apologies for the delay in your hand showing on my screen.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Chair. I'd like just to make a comment in terms of committee as well. I recognise the need to ensure that all committee members read papers before they come to committee. I think that's an entirely reasonable assumption. But I certainly think for members of the public joining us, it is actually really helpful to have a summary of reports, because obviously members of the public may not have had the opportunity to read through all reports. So can I ask that that's borne in mind for any future committee meetings?
I will certainly discuss that with Amy and see what we can do. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to start with a comment that I think is quite frightening, that nearly 10% of the working people in the Vale of Glamorgan of receiving universal credit. People think of, or tend to think of people on benefits as not trying, but it shows that's not the case. On 2.9, I love the fact that if we are serious about helping the people who are in poverty that need our help the most, that we're linking them to the stuff that they're entitled to, rather than people who might not have all the access having to go and find different people themselves. I wondered on point 2.15, the life skills course, I think, is a brilliant concept, and it's getting children and parents cooking healthy food together, as well as learning all the life skills. I wondered how that was being promoted. And on a parting comment, I wanted to say I lived 2.33, the food hub thing, where it's not just giving people having food that they might not have access to otherwise, but it's the community spirit and the working towards it and the friendships that they can build up when they're doing it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lloyd Selby.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the report. I think it was really, really helpful to see the work that's being done to support people through such difficulties. And I wanted to say it's particularly pleasing to see the work that's being done in response to the Welsh Benefit Charter. The Vale is doing some really good work to simplify application processes, and where possible, passport applicants where application process is the same. So that's really interesting to see that work is progressing, and very welcome indeed. Just one suggestion, if I may. So actually, one more question and a suggestion. So my question first, the report includes information that in the recent survey, only 10.7% of respondents felt that the council was doing enough to support people through the cost of living crisis. My question in relation to that is, was there any narrative attached to that? So were people asked to suggest things that the council could do to do more to support people? And then my suggestion, if you bear with me, Chair, is that Appendix B includes a lot of really, what looks like it should be really useful data in terms of various questions and percentages, but because there's no comparative data, it's really difficult for us and for members of the public to see whether or not the situation is improving, whether progress is being made, whether things are standing still, or whether things are becoming more challenging. So can I ask that when we receive the report for 25-26, that report includes comparative data with 24-25, so that we can really understand the impact that the work is having. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lloyd Selby. Who would like to come in on that? Thank you, Tom.
Good evening, Chair, and thank you for the question, Councillor Lloyd Selby. Definitely, in terms of the Appendix B, it's purely a matter that we've introduced those performance measures for 24-25. So absolutely, where they remain in the performance framework, you'll see those trends. We've also introduced, as part of Vale 2030, as committee members will be aware, a series of other indicators, if you like, that are not directly related to the work that we do as a local authority, but are more indicative of some of the socioeconomic picture within the Vale. So what I'm hoping we'll be able to do is report the two of them side by side, and whilst there's not going to be a direct correlation between our work and the impact always on those kind of population level measures, at least it should provide elected members and importantly members of the public with some of the context within which we're we're working, and Councillor Buckley drawing out that 8.3% of the working age population being in receipt of universal credit is a good example, I think, of that, where we're showing the contribution. And in terms of the Welsh Benefits Charter, thank you both for the comments. It's really good that we've made progress on those things in terms of simplifying. And one of the things that we've been progressing most recently is some simplification with citizens' advice. We're finding that a number of residents are contacting both ourselves and citizens' advice, and we're now looking at how we best join those two processes up so that people can tell one of us once, and we can then use that information in a similar way to the Benefits Charter. So just trying to simplify access. And I'm hopeful that in Q2 we'll see the first of the joint sessions with citizens' advice colleagues being on site with our benefits team and the council tax team, so that actually they can get residents can get access to things in a one and done kind of fashion. So it should make things even more simple as we join those things up. So yeah, thank you for the observations. In terms of the Let's Talk About Life in the Vale survey, there wasn't a specific narrative option associated with that question around the amount of support. There was a kind of general comment section, and what I can do, if it's okay with Councillor Lloyd-Selby and committee, I'll take that one away to see if I can ask the team to have a look through that narrative, because I just haven't got it to hand to answer this evening. But certainly something for us to give some thought to. The comment is timely, Councillor Lloyd-Selby, because we're now finalising the questions for running that survey again in the autumn.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Amy.
I would like to speak on behalf of Councillor Lovelock Edwards, Chair, so I wonder if you'd like to bring in Councillor Lynch-Wilson first.
Okay, I just wanted to check you didn't have something else to add to that last piece. Okay, Councillor Lynch-Wilson.
Thank you for the report. Very interesting. I think there's been a switch in how people view poverty and the people who are in poverty. We, for example, have changed. We now have a food share, so it's not a food bank. So the change to tell people that anybody can apply to come rather than you need referrals or whatever. And we have had a significant uptake. So we now have a small clothes bank there and different things, and a little cafe where you can come and not spend any money if you can't spend any money. So there is a shift in attitudes towards, and I feel that this report shows the shift in attitude, that it's not necessarily people on the out of work. It is in work people who are struggling as well. So all your work on this, as they say, every little helps, and I think it's starting to get people engaged, to realise that they can seek help, and there's nothing wrong in seeking help, and that's for people in work as well as people not in work. So but thank you for a very interesting report.
Thank you, Councillor. Amy, would you like to come in now?
Thank you, Chair. Again, on behalf of Councillor Lovelock Edwards, if I may pose two suggestions, please, for officers. But before I do, the councillor would just like to place on record the thanks to the age-friendly team in the Vale, in particular Sian Clement Davis and Joanna Bainan, who have done tremendous work around the age-friendly initiatives at the council. And having attended meetings and events, Councillor Lovelock Edwards has seen the 50+ forum continue to grow, and the depth of campaigns and issues that are tackled, and the grasp of working collectively with other groups such as youth groups and those supporting residents with a disability. The two questions or suggestions really that the council would like to pose of officers is whether she herself is very keen to learn more about joint working with citizens' advice, and I know that we have Mr. Carroll on with us, who is obviously from that domain, but she's wondering whether we able to set something up in order for councillors to learn a bit more about that working relationship. And then the second suggestion is whether or not officers can provide some data regarding the Duke of Edinburgh scheme in terms of diversity and inclusion, so that the council can see what schools are participating and how many children are getting involved, and taking that into consideration for Appendix A and B within the report that recognises costs and travel restrictions, etc., and whether or not there's an inequality being generated on who can participate in the Duke of Edinburgh scheme. So those are the two suggestions, Chair, from Councillor Lovelock-Edwards.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure officers will take those suggestions on board. Okay, do we have anybody else looking to question or comment on this item? Okay, I don't see any hands up, so I will go to the recommendation. And the recommendation is that the that the work being undertaken with regards to tackling poverty and the cost of living crisis and the use of the cost of living reserve to support those in need be noted, and that the report and any committee recommendations be referred to cabinet. I don't think we've had any particular committee recommendations for cabinet, have we, Amy? Just
Not that I've
me.
captured. Not that I've captured, Chair. No, more suggestions for yourself and officers to take forward.
Which we will do, I'm sure. Are committee happy to move those recommendations? Councillor Lloyd-Selby?
Happy to move, Chair.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hanks? Councillor Hanks, you kind of disappeared, but if there you are, you're back again.
Happy to second, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have done that, I'm going to go to item number 6, which is the task and finish review activity. Amy, this is for you, isn't it? So
That's correct, Chair. Yes. It's a very straightforward report, Chair. Hopefully, as already expected by members of the committee, having had a discussion, an introductory report on task and finish suggestions at the last meeting. So at the last meeting, suggestions were requested. Councillor Lovelock-Edwards kindly made a suggestion that was taken forward to officers after the meeting, and is set out within, I believe, paragraph 2.2 of the report. So and also members were requested to provide any further recommendations via email separately. However, the one suggestion is set out within the report for the committee's approval today. So the recommendations are asking if the committee are happy to commence with the task and finish topic as set out within the report, but also to set the membership and composition of the task and finish working group. So I think I'll leave that there, Chair, if that's okay.
yes, of course. So the first thing is we have the recommendation to agree the topic for the task and finish. So committee happy to agree that and second it? Councillor Lloyd-Selby?
Happy to second that recommendation.
Okay, right. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is work out the makeup of this group. Now, Amy, just to double check, is there any kind of makeup in numbers that we need, a certain number from each party, or is it just anybody from any party, just to be sure before we start making the agreements on the team?
Chair, I think the easiest thing is to draw the committee's attention to, I'm just finding the paragraph within the report, which is 2.5. So a suggested number of members for the review group is between 4 to 8, but a higher number can be accommodated based on the wishes of the committee. And with the chair of the working group normally decided by the Home Scrutiny Committee. Ideally, the Task and Finish Review Group would have representation from all political groups and relevant co-opted members. But where practical political balance is encouraged, which for a group of 6 would be, for example, 3 Labour group, 1 plus 1 member each from Lantwit First Independents, Conservative, and Plaid Cymru. So that's a suggested. So I think the crux of the matter is really, Chair, that between 4 to 8 members, we would really like to have a political balance. However, it's not mandatory for that to take place moving forward with the group. So really, it's asking for members who would like to be part of that working group.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I just wanted to be 100% sure on that before we went in and asked for volunteers. So thanks for clarifying. So the next question, guys, is who would like to volunteer for this working group? Councillor Hanks?
As I'm the only Lantwit First Independent here.
Yeah.
As I'm the only Lantwit First Independent, I shall put my name down, please, Millie.
Okay, Councillor Hennessy.
I'm happy to be the Conservative one.
Okay. Amy, were you going to say something else?
I was then, Chair. Yes, sorry. It was just to say that in the chat function, the Vice Chair, Councillor Lovelock Edwards, has also indicated her wish to be involved.
Okay, so we have 3 volunteers already. Do we have any other volunteers? I mean, my name will be one of them, so we're looking for a minimum of 2 more, possibly.
You are able to proceed with 4, Chair, if you wish.
Yeah, but I think 6 might be better. More heads put together mean more ideas, more cooperation, etc. We can go with 4, and if people wish to join in the future, then they are welcome to, I suppose. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes, Chair. Obviously, ideally, we would want the membership established at the beginning of the process to allow every member to be involved in each subsequent working group meeting that would take place. But you are able to proceed with 4. That's absolutely fine.
Okay. Councillor Lloyd-Selby?
Yeah, sorry, forgive me if I missed it, just to check that you have Councillor Lovelock Edwards,
Yes.
because obviously this was her suggestion. And
Yes.
I understand Councillor Thomas has now lost his connection to this group. But yes, he has. But he's also indicated that he would be happy to be involved in the working group if the numbers allow.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bruce?
Yes, you can put my name forward as well.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking at Councillor Bruce, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Lovelock Edwards, Councillor Millie Collins, Councillor Hanks, and Councillor Hennessy. Is that correct, Amy? Are those the names we have? Have I missed anyone off, basically?
No, I believe that's correct, Chair. Sorry, I was busy noting names as you were reading then, but Councillor Hanks, Councillor Hennessy, Councillor Lovelock Edwards, Councillor Collins, Councillor Neil Thomas, and Councillor Bruce.
Okay.
So that's 6 members, yes.
Okay. Final chance if anybody else wants to join. If not, we will consider that the group. Final chance. Final call. No one else is sticking their head above the parapet, Amy. I don't think anyone else is available to help out at the moment. Okay, not a problem. Are committee happy to agree the membership with the names that we have come up with today? Councillor Hennessy.
Happy to agree, Chair.
Okay, no problem. I'm happy to second that myself. So that's all we need, isn't it, Amy?
That's correct, Chair. Yes, thank you. So I will take that forward and obviously remain in contact with yourself and the members of the group, and we'll look to arrange the first meeting of the working group as soon as possible, which will be hopefully a really interesting exercise in really scoping out the suggestion for topic and what we'd like to get out of that and moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so basically we've covered the items on the agenda, haven't we? I have no items which are urgent in part 1 or part 2. Amy, were you going to say something then? Sorry.
I was just to confirm you were correct, Chair, that there was nothing under part 1 or 2 for you.
All right, thank you. So all that's left for me to do is say thank you to everyone for attending tonight. Thank you very much to the officers, and also I would like to echo Councillor Lovelock's comments on thanks for the reports. Well done. They are always, they're very interesting. There's been some successes that we have to be proud of, and just thank you everybody for your hard work. So in that case, I will draw this meeting to a close and advise you that the next meeting is the 9th of September. Thank you very much. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Good night, all. Nice to see you all.
Bye.
Bye all.